Hi guys, I'm Brad and welcome to the Great Hollywood Rewrite. This is that podcast where we take a look at some of cinema and TV's most troublesome titles and have a tinker around under the hood. Today I've got John with me. Hi John.
Hello.
And we have been asked to take a look at Rise of Skywalker from 2019. Written by Chris Terrio and J.J. Abrams and directed by Abrams. A rather divisive end, some would say, to the Skywalker saga. I know John's got strong thoughts on this one, but before we delve into a world that's so surprisingly secret we can only find it with a MacGuffin Wayfinder doodad thingy, take a look at our website at thescriptdepartment.net. Loads of cool stuff going on over there. You can find us on social. You'll find us on all the cool places where the podcasts normally live. Just search for The Script Department. So, John, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. Hit me. What do you think of this film?
Okay, so I really like this film. I know a lot of people don't. A lot of people say it's the weakest link in the chain. I agree, it is the weakest link in the new trilogy. But if you've ever heard my rants about Return of the Jedi, I find Return of the Jedi to be a really weak link in the chain of Star Wars overall. I've always said that you could cut out the first 40 minutes where they're rescuing Han and just make that its own standalone short film, and it would have absolutely zero impact on Return of the Jedi as a movie. It's filler waiting for... If this was a James Bond movie, that would have been like a 5-minute prologue scene, or a 10-minute prologue scene before the music credits, And I've always said that Vader's redemption arc is too tacked on, and it's like comes out of nowhere, and and I've always said that at the end in the final battle, everybody's just in the wrong place. Like Leia should be the one leading the armies of ships up in space, not a giant fish thing. And like, why is Han not piloting the Falcon in the final movie? And what was supposed to be the final movie? All these kind of things. So. For me, that was one of the tests going into seeing Rise of Skywalker. I wanted to see, like, is it going to make good use of the characters? So I've got 3 pros for why I think Rise of Skywalker is good, right? But then I'll
go.
All right. So I do think it's a more satisfying finale in my book, involving each character in a more meaningful way. Finn is an example of that. I do think they could make better use of these ideas, of course, but I like the idea that Finn is teaming up with his own kind, like, former stormtroopers, to use their knowledge to sabotage the appropriate weapon or the appropriate kind of tech on the different Star Destroyers and so on. I think Ben's redemption arc is better seeded in this movie. I think it could be better seeded in the trilogy, but I don't think it comes out of nowhere, because it's clear he's a bit conflicted throughout the other movies as well. Whereas Vader, for example, we have to just go on Luke's word. 50 minutes into Return of the Jedi, there is still good in him. Like, where is that coming from? And then Palpatine's presence. I know everybody has a big problem with Palpatine, but I was actually kind of relieved that Palpatine was in this, because I thought finally this gives it some cohesiveness to the overall like 9 movies. This is a movie that starts with Palpatine's grand plan and it ends with Palpatine's grand plan. And even if we know that's not exactly what their vision was in this trilogy, I don't care, because years from now, I'm not going to be thinking about what Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams had up their sleeves originally or whatever. I'm just going to be thinking, all this is Palpatine's grand plan, and it feels like George Lucas never left, actually, which I think this trilogy kind of needed, weirdly. I know we were kind of glad as well, to a point, that we weren't going to be getting some of the stuff that George Lucas might have brought to the table, but I think they went a bit too left field with it in some cases, or not left field enough in others. So I don't know. I like this film. I saw it again last night just to refresh myself, and the first act I find is a bit dull, but I had a great time with the rest of this film, and I get it. I get the criticisms. I do think there is definitely things like the Wayfinder and all that, or the Blade map or whatever, like, that just doesn't work. But I don't think this is a I think if you twisted my arm, I'd be finding other movies to do an episode on in this, if that makes sense, instead of this one. So I'm interested in what you have to say, because I
I
think this will
understand
be
what
an
you're saying
interesting
about
discussion.
Jedi and how there's a redemption arc in that feels very quick and a second thought. As in, I felt the way that they redeemed Ben Solo in this was very similarly. I know they were trying to lean towards that, but it felt tacked on. And again, because of the way that this trilogy was put together, Palpatine felt tacked on to me as well. So I didn't mind that Palpatine came back. It was how he came back, and I was like, "Oh, was that? Did you just think of that?"
He came back in a Fortnite game. Like Fortnite is where that distress signal, or that there was at the broadcast of his, like that's where that came from, and that is mad to me. That Fortnite is where Palpatine's return actually takes place in our experience of, like, if you were to take all the Star Wars media and link it all together, where did this broadcast come from? It came from Fortnite. Like, I mean,
This is in the promotion,
yeah, yeah.
promotional stuff.
Yeah, but it's not. But it's not like that. But it's not like it's also in a movie or also in a short film or anything like that. It's just, if you want to hear Palpatine's broadcast that they're talking about in the opening crawl sequence, it's that.
It was in Fortnite.
And if you are completely disconnected from any of the multimedia and the transmedia that goes around Star Wars, and you just going into the cinema to see a Star Wars film, you're just gonna be like, wow, they rushed that one, didn't they? They're shoehorning this thing in, aren't they? Very strange writing. Very strange writing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it relied on other things, which, there's that rule one of writing that it has to be able to stand alone on its own, and you can just watch it cold and kind of get what's going on. Yes, it's the third film in a trilogy, and yes, you haven't got those established characters, but you should still be able to pick it up, loosely pick it up. And for someone who's seen the other two to go, oh, where did Palpatine come into this? How long's he been watching? And for me, the Palpatine thing slightly negated Anakin's sacrifice. Like, he was supposed to be bring balance to the Force. Oh, look, he did it. He brought balance to the Force, sacrificed himself. Great. He did it. And then it's like, oh, no. He didn't. He survived. Like, and it's like, well, hang on a minute. What are we seeing here? So for me, there was a few things that went wrong. I didn't. Some of the sequences in this film were spectacular, and I love the direction they took some of the characters in. Not all of them. And it felt epic in the way that they were trying to close out this 9-film saga. So I liked that, the experience of it, the spectacle of what we were experiencing. But it made me reassess Last Jedi. Like, I liked Last Jedi, but I thought, oh, they messed a few things up in there, like with the Force flying around space and the paper books and lightning, all of that stuff. Yeah, books. Well, we've never seen books in this one. All of that stuff, and I was just like, maybe it could have been different. But it's because it ditched what happened in the first film of the sequel trilogy. It ditched a lot of what had been laid out. But we can't. I think with this thing, we can't really change the first two films. We're just going to go for this third film. But it made me reassess Last Jedi and think, I actually really liked it.
But just on the subject of Last Jedi quickly, I think I like The Last Jedi. I think it is a very, very good Star Wars film. Like, I really enjoy it. But hats off to Rian Johnson for making it his own and so on. But I think the resurrection of Palpatine, which is the big talking point in this movie, the resurrection of Palpatine is less a J.J. Abrams problem than it is a Rian Johnson problem. Rian Johnson killed off the big bad, so what the hell are we supposed to do? Kylo Ren is not meant to be the big bad because he's meant to be the guy who can be turned. And so you need that, Mr. Burns type character in the background. And Snoke was was that character. You killed him, so you got to put somebody else in, and you cannot just rebuild a big bad from nothing. Even James Bond struggles with those kind of things at the
Yeah,
best of times. You have to just
it
bring
felt
in
like
a
he was trying to make
yeah,
Kylo Ren the big bad in that film, right?
yeah, and it's just not like that's not going to happen. And so well, what do? Your hands are tied. So again, I like a lot of people criticize J.J. Abrams and so on for these kind of, and Kathleen Kennedy for these kind of decisions. And I'm like, no, actually, this was Rian Johnson going too far the other way. I think it made for a great film because I love that scene. I think that's one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars, in that throne room, that set piece and everything is so amazing. But that's not where this, like, we shouldn't have gone that far with it, I think. Because you deprived us of the chance to grow that character. So yeah, we got to just stick with what we know now, So anyway.
Yeah, I think there's issues with it changing hands a number of times. I mean, the death of Carrie Fisher. There was so many moving parts to the end of this trilogy, or the end of this sequel trilogy, the end of these 9 films. Effectively, it was. Yeah, there were a lot of things that could have gone wrong, and yet maybe a few things. Maybe maybe things were dropped because they just couldn't support them to get this thing finished. But there was the Colin Trevorrow's script that had a few other ways of getting out of the Rian Johnson film and supporting them, but it's almost like Abrams wrote the first one. Abrams should have probably written the second one if we wanted a straight through.
Oh yeah, they should have just been a consistent.
And then he came back for the third one, but like it should. There was a big disconnect there, and it was like one director went, okay, we're going to stop. We're going to pull the rug here, and we're going to write into it in the third one. And then the original director come back and went, oh no, well, I'm going to pull the rug on that, and we're going to write into this film. And it was just these rug pulls constantly going on with the changing of hands. And a lot of the films we've covered on this show have been affected by the change of directors, the change of writers, stuck in turnaround, all this kind of stuff. And that it does show. So whether we agree with the points or not, it was definitely troubled by changing of personnel and people who were writing and people who were directing this thing. I've got a few talking points. Top one, because it just affects everything, is Palpatine. We've already discussed a few things around him, but it's whether we keep that idea, whether we change it, whether we retrofit it into something else. Second point is Rey's lineage. That was pulled and pushed all over the place throughout these 3 films. We're only rewriting this one, and we were left with the idea that she was a nobody who was force sensitive. But then that's again rug pull, and it's no, she's Palpatine's granddaughter. Which again is weird anyway. Next point was Ben's redemption. So was it too late? Could it have ever happened? Was he too deep into, had we seen enough to show that he could be redeemed? I guess associated with it, where were the Knights of Ren? Who were they? Why weren't they in it? They'd set them up so strongly, and then they were just not there. They stood around and looked cool a lot of the time, and then there was a bit of a fight at the end, but they could have been something somewhere. Finn and Poe got dropped a little bit. They were in it, but the way they were built up to begin with was, I don't know, it didn't feel like it paid off. And I guess the last one's more of a broad idea of some of the promises that were set up in the last film, specifically Luke, Force Ghost Luke, haunting. Why wasn't he haunting Kylo Ren? Like he said to him, "I'll be always. You strike me down, I'll be always with you," or I'll be always with you like your father. And then he wasn't, and it was like, oh, well, that could have had quite a big effect on his redemption arc, surely. But anyway. So if we go back to the top one, the Palpatine point, the Palpatine in the room, what can we do with this here? Because I know that you feel strongly about having him as the big bad, but did we need him? Because we'd got a whole First Order army We've got Hux, we've got the Knights of Ren, we've got an unredeemed Ben Solo at this point, Kylo Ren. Like,
Okay.
where do you sit with this?
I think we need Palpatine, and I'll tell you. I'll explain why. The First Order for me doesn't make sense without him. When I watched The Force Awakens, I thought, when I saw the trailer for The Force Awakens and all that kind of stuff, when I didn't really know anything about it, I remember seeing, you see the Star Destroyers and all that kind of stuff, and you think, okay, the remnants of the Empire have survived. Like the Empire's coming back. And then you realize, oh no, it's the First Order, and they've got like control, and they take kids, and they, and I'm like, but they're not in power because because the New Republic is still a thing, and it's like, so what are they? Are they just like a militant faction trying to overthrow a government or something? And if that's the case, then why is Supreme Leader Snoke like sitting on a throne as if he controls the Empire? Like, why isn't he like Saw Gerrera, for example, where a militia leader hiding out in camps or something? And it just felt very strange. Like, they sound like the Empire, they feel like the Empire, they look like the Empire, they walk and talk like the Empire, they even have stormtroopers and everything. Like, everything is the exact same, just a bit more polish on it. And yet, it's not the Empire. And when I saw Palpatine then in this, I thought, oh, okay, it is the Empire. It's the Empire trying to claw back control, but it's like, if everything looks the same, it's because it's being led by the same guy. And I thought, and that for me worked. Now, if you wanted to do something where a group of the old guard who served with Palpatine are continuing his memory, that's fine. But name drop Palpatine at least, or something. But the idea that Palpatine is just not in this at all just is very strange when everything looks like it was designed by Palpatine. And so I that's why I think Palpatine is essential in this. And I say essential because, again, it gives that cohesiveness to the whole thing. Like, when you see Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith, you can kind of imagine him falling down the well in Return of the Jedi, and then you can imagine him again, behind closed doors, smiling as Snoke gets killed by Kylo Ren, and it's like, okay, that's my guy then, like I just think it gives more fullness to the evil threat of this story, because Snoke was never going to fill the shoes of Palpatine. And do you want 2 trilogies of Palpatine as the villain, and then 1 trilogy where he's not? It just feels more complete when he's in it. Even if it needs to be done better, yes, but it feels better with him in it.
So there's a continuation of something to have him in there. Agreed. Like, it is the Empire is his thing. That's his baby. But it's not like we've had Darth Vader in this film. Like, Anakin and Darth Vader were in the first 2, and he's not in the third one. Yes, we'd got the Solos and the Skywalker, and the second generation Skywalkers in the second and third films, but they weren't in the first ones. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily mean, like, there needs to be a straight through of some sort. And I'm not saying we don't have Palpatine, but I'd be interested in exploring what else could have happened here. Like, could we have had? Because I remember when Snoke got killed in Last Jedi, everyone was convinced that he was Darth Plagueis, that he was a host for Darth Plagueis. And it's like, why couldn't he be? Like, he was the Sith Lord that could survive death. Darth Sidious wasn't. He died. He wasn't the Sith Lord who survived death, and he couldn't find, even in, whether in the opera scene in, is it Revenge of the Sith or is it the Clone Wars?
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith, yeah.
Revenge of the Sith, where he says, even his apprentice couldn't find that out before he killed him. And it's like, well, did he kill him if he can cheat death? Like, how can you kill someone who can cheat death? Like, there is no reason. I never even
thought of that, actually, yeah. Yeah.
I killed this guy who can't die. It's like, are you sure you killed him? He can't die. So could we use him? Yes, he's not been there. he's been a few words here and there, but could he? Could he? Would he? Could we have him as the embodiment? He's embodying Snoke bodies, or is he embodying? Could that be Darth Plagueis' body? Like he's got a big gouge on the head. Like how would it work? How does immortal Sith work? I don't understand. I don't get that. Like, does his body just keep getting stitched back together? That could be just Darth Plagueis. That could be him, and he's just slowly being knitted back together by the dark side of the Force.
So you want Darth Plagueis?
I don't necessarily think I want him, but he's another option that would fit into this tight little shell that we've got to write into. And the idea of needing a host still works.
I think if you're going to do Plagueis, it needs to connect to the idea of the fear of death. Like that's his gift to this universe, is he managed to figure out how to cheat death. So you would have to create an idea where like Kylo Ren needs him, because why again would Kylo Ren want to share power? And so you would have to have a reason why he would need him, and it could be a case where, you know what it could do? Okay, imagine Leia hasn't been well for a while, because obviously they're writing her out of the story anyway midway, and because she passed away before they started filming, Carrie Fisher. So they could lean into this idea where, my mother isn't well, and I know it sounds cheesy as I'm saying it, but it's like he wants to, in the same way Anakin was panicking about the death of Padme, or his dreams of that. Like, this could be, I've had dreams that my mother is going to die, and yeah, I'm an asshole, and yeah, I've tried to kill her in the past, but I am slowly like changing my ways here, because I think we kind of want him to redeem himself as well, don't we? And I think if Vader gets the chance to redeem himself, then Kylo Ren gets a chance to redeem himself. I think that's only fair. Yeah. And I think he's a far more human, well-developed character, I think, Kylo Ren. So at least in this trilogy compared to the way Vader was in that trilogy. So it makes more sense for him to be redeeming himself, or to be questioning his role in all of this and so on. And you could have the idea where it's like, I killed my father. Everybody I've caused so much destruction. I need to make this right. I need to do this one thing or something. And it's Plagueis is the key to this. I don't know. You could go down. It's very similar to how Vader went down, but that would give give it that symmetry, though.
Yeah, I mean, the whole saga is about symmetry and history repeating itself again and again. Like I think we have to write into that pattern. Otherwise, we're going to break it. So I think that the idea of things repeating.
And Plagueis could be this kind of master of seduction, where like, come work with me and I will help you. And he becomes a student of Plagueis, where it's, you could have Hux kind of saying, well, when you go off on your trips, we're here left on our own, blah, 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 and he's like, and we're realizing what he's doing. We're seeing him as a student of Plagueis. We're learning about Palpatine, for example. We're learning about the way Palpatine used to be. Maybe we show a few flashes of young Palpatine with Plagueis or something. And then you have, so again, you can bring in some of that cohesiveness to the overall universe. And then you realize Plagueis is just using him because you've got an army or something. I don't know.
Well, Plagueis could have been in hiding, like throughout. Like you can imagine like a flashback where he's somewhere in Phantom Menace, and he's somewhere. He was inhabiting that dude in the background there, or he's inhabiting.
That would be cool. Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
That would be cool. Actually, that would be very interesting. If you see those bacta tanks of like Snoke bodies, and then you see other bodies from different movies, and you're like, oh my god,
Yeah,
that could be cool. Actually, yeah.
That could be fun, because this new host thing could still work then. He's trying to find a host, and they need to be force sensitive. They need to be... I guess he couldn't have had... If he was in waiting, he couldn't have gone to a force sensitive shell, because they'd have sensed him. That's kind of how the Force works, right? They can sense other Force sensitive
I guess. I don't know.
people.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I guess we'd get to that when we
Well,
get
there is
off.
some inconsistency in all of this. I mean, Rey is able to heal people now.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever been healed in Star Wars before through the Force? I mean, I'm sure in the cartoons, yes, but has it ever happened in the movies, or is this the first time?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I want to say yes, but it feels like no.
Yeah,
it feels like
remember.
some sort of like Reiki staunching the blow kind of.
Well, I'm like,
thing
I've seen that before. Oh no, wait, that was Last Crusade. You know, it's like, so I do feel, there's a lot of that kind of inconsistency in this anyway. So
yeah,
so why not?
Yeah. So if we are
go with Plagueis,
if we do consider Plagueis, and he does need a new Force sensitive body who's waiting for the Emperor to be out of the way and for the forces to build, so he could then. Who was he growing? Was he growing Kylo Ren? Was he growing Rey? Like what?
In the sense of like, who's he nurturing to take,
over
as a new?
Or has he grown? Did he make? He obviously couldn't make Ben, but he could have made Rey.
No,
he could have made her.
I like the idea that Rey was a nobody. I think, there's nothing wrong with it just being a case where he had been searching for suitable hosts throughout the galaxy, and this was just one of those people. You could even tie in, the way they were playing at the idea of Finn as being, he was becoming Force sensitive, which was very tacked on. And you could lean into the idea, like, the reason we take kids for stormtroopers isn't really for stormtroopers. It's we run them through all these tests when they're young. They don't remember it. And we check if they're Force sensitive. And if they are, we bring them into like this other like place. And if they're not, we just send them to the stormtrooper unit. And Finn, sorry, like, you're not Force sensitive. You think you are, but you're not, because you were sent to, by virtue of the fact that you were sent to the stormtroopers. And you could, like, we would have tested you when you were a kid. Like, they would have tested everybody. So Rey could have just been one who was just plucked from obscurity as well. And
so was she? So did they find she was Force sensitive, and then someone broke her out, or was this part of it? Was this part of it? He wanted her to be stranded and potentially grow hatred, and was that part of the plan all along?
I wouldn't overcomplicate it. I like the idea that her parents did something good for her, that her parents didn't fail her. She sits there hoping her parents will come back someday, and I think it's nice leaving it with the idea that her parents gave her something. So
she's Force sensitive, and they hid her because they didn't want her to be scooped up into this training program. Yeah. Okay. Or I mean, maybe people don't even know there's a training program. Maybe they just these Force sensitive kids get scooped up and they never come back, and they're never seen again. And it's like, okay, people probably think they're killing them, but really they're trying to they're being groomed by the big bad who's Darth Plagueis.
Yeah, and then it's all in service of building up this new army.
Unless,
and there's your Knights of Ren. What Knights of Ren are the people who made their way, who became who are Force sensitive. There you go.
So that's a nice mechanic. I like that. I'm just wondering if we can get any, because we're talking about repeating these cycles, right? So what if, and her taking the name Skywalker doesn't work for me. What if
it feels weird at the end? I was watching it.
What if she is
But I was welling up at the end when they go back to the moisture farm. I was like, geez, when were we last here? That's amazing. Like, even I just saw it in Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I was watching it thinking, like, I know, like, I can see the ghosts of Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru running around, being chased by the Inquisitor. I can't remember her name. And I just thought, like, I don't know, that scene has more weight now in hindsight. And then the woman saying, God, nobody's been here for such a long time. I thought, I know. So I love that moment. But yeah, when she says Skywalker, I thought, I don't know if that's your name. Like, I get what
you're not allowed to do that.
I get what you're doing, but it's like, yeah.
I think, like, what if we can get some sort of lineage in there? What if she's a clone? What if she's a clone of someone?
No, we're in a world where
we're in a world where clones. What if she's a Vader clone? She could be an Anakin clone, a female Anakin clone that he's been growing to embody.
No, no, that's not happening, man.
No,
I'm putting my
what
foot down
to?
that one. No,
What is that
I think
to MacGuffin-y?
the Rise of Skywalker should have been a reference to, like, it should have been about rebuilding the lineage. You know what? Okay, you mentioned about how Vader's sacrifice is undermined by Palpatine's existence, right? I think Vader's sacrifice is undermined by everything that has come out since Return of the Jedi. There is no redemption for Vader after what you see in Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's no redemption for him after you see in Rogue One. After what you see, after what you read in the comics, I mean, they slaughter. I mean, just even the fact that he destroyed Alderaan, there is no redemption for you, man. Like, and the idea that you killed your emperor to save your son does not make you an inherently good person. It just means you just, yeah. I mean, even the most tyrannical dictators care about their children, So like, none of that. Sorry, George Lucas, but that's not going to cut it for me. Like in 2022, so I think you could do a really interesting exploration of Kylo Ren's redemption by he looks at this helmet, this mangled helmet of Vader, and he's looking at it saying, like, was he really good? Like, did he change? Like, can you change from doing that one act? Like, was it self-serving? Like, do we really know what his motives were? Because and it can be a kind of a mirror to himself. Like, what does it take for him to change? And Plagueis can be saying, it takes more than just an act like that to redeem yourself. And so I think I think you could link the whole idea of redeeming the Skywalker name. Like when they say Rise of Skywalker, it's more about, like, Luke abandoned everybody. Luke abandoned everybody in Return of the Jedi, don't forget. He was the most powerful man in that mission. He could have brainwashed somebody to go in and sabotage the shield generator. Nope, I'm going off to find my dad. Like, good luck, guys. I just found out you're my sister, but I'm going to just leave you to the wolves now because I got to go off and find dad. It's mad. Like, and and he throws his lightsaber over his shoulder. Like, that requires some redemption as well. I'm sorry, because he has the nerve to talk about, you need to take better care of this in Rise of Skywalker. And I just think there's a whole idea of redeeming the Skywalker name, because surely Luke has failed the Skywalker name. Right. Kylo is his fault. Kylo himself is a Skywalker. He has failed the Skywalker name, and it's going to take Kylo Ren's redemption can be the Rise of Skywalker. Luke and Kylo kind of making amends can be the Rise of Skywalker. Understanding his grandfather's sacrifice, and then Rey promising to uphold those ideals. That's your Rise of Skywalker. You don't need to over-explain it. I mean, think about it. Attack of the Clones is an entire name for a movie. Phantom Menace is an entire name. These are meaningless titles. You could swap them out for anything, and people have swapped them out in the series, and they feel better suited in other titles. Rise of Skywalker is a more deep title than most anyway, so we're fine. Leave it,
Okay, nice. I like that. I like the idea that.
Sorry, long-winded rant to get there, but
that's what we're all about. We normally push 90 minutes on these things, so we need long-winded rants really to, we've got to fill it out with something, John. Jeez. So if you think about if we do have Luke, do they haunt them? They don't haunt them. They visit them. Luke visiting Kylo a lot, because one of the main misunderstanding. Well, was it even a misunderstanding? I don't think it was. The fact that he was going to kill him. Luke was going to kill Kylo, or at least in a moment he was going to kill him. I don't know if it had followed through. They never talked that through. Like, you can see him coming to him, because this will help with that redemption. I had a momentary lapse. I was scared. I shouldn't have been scared. I gave in to my feelings, but I was scared. I would never have done it. You can see, you can almost hear those conversations they would have.
And he has a conversation. I mean, it's a beautiful scene with Han Solo.
Yes.
I mean, that's a really great scene. Like, that for me was the scene that made, like I was really nervous about how they would handle Kylo Ren's redemption because it was so obviously coming. And I remember watching the cinema when the Han Solo scene finished and he threw his lightsaber. I remember just thinking, okay, I'm in. Like, you're redeemed. Like, I believe your redemption arc now, because your father has come to you and helped you see the light, and that is a believable one. I get the idea of this. Like, I know I'm sounding hypocritical. The son coming to Vader isn't enough, but Vader and Kylo have done horrible things for sure. But you got to write this better. Like, and I do think. I think a father speaking to a son and reaching out to a son and forgiving a son from beyond the grave, even if it's just a memory, is.
But does it have to be a memory though? Like, can that not be? Can Luke not be a conduit for that?
Oh yeah, no. But it's just.
Do you know what I mean? We're messing around with the Force a lot. Yeah. I mean, that's not even that big a step.
Yeah. No, but I just think that's a really powerful moment that you can play into. And yeah, I could imagine Hux like planning to overthrow. I mean, we got to get rid of him as a spy. No, he's not a spy. He's not a spy.
He's
full on evil.
He's evil. Yeah. He's becoming the new. He wants to be supreme leader, but he's
Grand Moff Tarkin. He's Tarkin with a full head of hair. Like he's
he's growing into Tarkin, and he wants to be him.
Yeah. And you have him like eavesdropping on Kylo, and like he's going into Ren's office, and he like stops at the doorway and he hears his office, you know what I mean, and he hears his secretary at the door or something like that, and you hear him talking to himself, and it's like he's like, there's something, he's not right, there's something not right about Ren. And the Knights of Ren are kind of like standing at the doorway or something like that, and they're being a bit kind of intimidating, and like he's like, who's he talking? Who are you talking to in there? And he's like, nobody. Why? And you realize it's Luke or someone.
Yeah. Do you know what? Hux and Ren, Hux and the Knights of Ren. That's a interesting combination.
Yeah.
If we were to redeem Ben earlier, Hux would probably get the Knights of Ren, and he would send them after him.
Yes,
and they could be like a they could be a protagonist mechanic in there early on, instead of just popping up, having a bit of a hunt on one planet, standing there looking cool, and then.
The problem with the Knights of Ren is that the Knights of Ren should never have been named or mentioned. If they show up in the trailer for Force Awakens, they're in a lot of the marketing material. There was toys of them and everything before they ever showed up in films, and so people knew, like the fans knew who these guys were. They're called Knights of Ren before Rise of Skywalker, even though their name never gets mentioned in those movies, right? I mean, I don't think they ever get mentioned. And then, but if they had just been in this movie as his bodyguards. Like, he's now Supreme Leader Ren, so he's got bodyguards. Yeah. We wouldn't have bat an eyelid. We wouldn't be having this conversation. But again, they kind of look, at the end of the day, these movies, I firmly believe, were made as tentpoles to support other media. I do not believe for a second that Kathleen Kennedy is sitting here saying, this is it, guys. This is our only shot, like, to do these things. No. The Knights of Ren are going to be the big bad in a bunch of video games at some point. They're going to be the big bad in their own comic book series. I think they already did get their own series with Kylo Ren, didn't they? Like, all these things that have been introduced in these movies, if it feels like things are poorly seeded in these movies, it's because they're meant to be seeded in comics and all that kind of stuff as well to go with it, and I've no doubt Palpatine's son will appear in some live action spin-off at some point, and we'll be like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then we'll love the fact that Rey is a Palpatine and all that. Then,
Yeah. So I like the idea that I like the Knights of Ren being in it.
Yeah.
Something within me throughout the second and third films, I was like, okay, they're going to bring them in. They're going to come in, and we're going to learn about them, and we're going to see how they've all got their own cool little things. No, nothing. They don't even talk. Does anyone?
You have to buy the comics, Brad.
I know, but you shouldn't have to buy the comic. I know. That's what I mean. So maybe we do have Hux and the Knights of Ren becoming.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that's very strong. Imagine, like, I love the moment in The Last Jedi where he's about to kill. He thinks Kylo Ren is on the ground after the ship explosion, and Hux comes in and he's about to shoot Ren, I think, and Ren just kind of comes to. Kylo Ren comes to, and he has no idea like what happened. And if Kylo Ren was legitimately sleeping, he would have sensed Hux with the blaster or whatever it was, the knife or whatever, I can't remember. But he would have sensed that Hux is planning on doing something. And I love that moment. It's so perfectly engineered. Like Hux is like, wow, I can kill him right now and I can blame it on her. Like that's amazing. It's so good. And then he has to like just hide and change and all that. And I just think that's brilliant. This would have been a perfect example for him to say, I should have killed you on the ship when I had the chance, and he's got the Ren, he's got the Knights of Ren, as you say, and like, that would have been fantastic. I
would like some dialogue between the Knights of Ren and Kylo Ren as well.
Okay. I've always
almost like a Boba Fett style, quite direct.
I get it. Yeah.
We're here to get you.
Yeah. No disintegration. Orders, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But it could be like, we've got orders. Sorry, we're here to get you. You're not one of us anymore, kind of thing.
I see what you mean. Sorry, do you know what I mean? I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
Because having them as voiceless, monsters is scary, but there's nothing to them.
I'll say this. I've always, when I was a kid, I used to always like scare myself with imagining who the Emperor's royal guards were, like under the mask. Like I always had this idea that there are these like scarred creatures from like like the greatest warriors, like these Spartans, or something like that, and then because who else to protect the Emperor, and then in The Last Jedi, the I can't remember what they have a name, the guards, but they're Snoke's guards, and they've got these kind of almost like, they got these amazing weapons, these amazing costumes.
The bright reds. Yeah, they're not the shock troopers, are they? What are they called?
No, there is a name for them like that.
Yeah.
It sounds like it dates back to antiquity or something. But they're really, really scary. Like they're just really good, and they hold their own against me. You think these are the guys, like these are the Knights of Ren. Let's not kid ourselves. Like
they're called the Elite Praetorian Guard.
Praetorian Guards, yeah.
They're awesome, aren't they? But do you know what? The original ones, the red ones with the taller helmets, the Emperors, one of those could have been Plagueis. He could have been placed throughout, and he could have let his body be slain so Luke could get. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we couldn't almost like piece him in through all it. I quite like that.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea of Knights of Ren, Hux. I think that all ties it together. And you know what? Okay, if you did a thing where Ren is exiled and he has nowhere to go except to go to Plagueis, like that could work. Like there's a mutiny at the beginning of the movie, and Ren is left for dead, and Plagueis comes out of the woods and takes him in, and he's like, "I've been here the whole time, following you."
So, but Plagueis has been sitting on the throne, right? He's been Snoke.
Yeah, I know.
So he's been supreme leader. So does Hux overthrow Ren then?
Okay, I've got it, right. Your first act, end of Act 1. The Knights of Ren turn on Ren. And he's completely he's overwhelmed by them. And Hux is like, I don't know what Snoke ever saw in you. You should go back to Luke. You should go back to Luke Skywalker or something like that. I don't know what Snoke ever saw in you. And he's just left for dead. And you think he's dead. Oh no, you don't think he's dead. They think he's dead. And they leave. And then it's you then have and you can even have Hux say, "I'm going to fulfill Snoke's master plan." And we're like, "Oh, what's the master plan?" or whatever. And then you have this stranger kind of, you do the whole Obi-Wan and, in the snow appearing as a Force ghost or something like that. And you have this voice calling out to Ren. And he makes his way down through this valley, down a Revenant-style journey, goes into some cave somewhere, and it's Plagueis waiting for him. And he's like, "I've been following this, I've just been following you this whole, like, I was Snoke, and, and Hux, Hux is saying, I don't know what Snoke saw on you, and Plagueis will say, "I'll tell you what I saw on you," and
Yeah. So Hux overthrows
yeah,
Ren.
yeah, it's unexpected. It's a very
Because
unexpected way of starting a movie as well, isn't it?
But you can. I mean, they hint towards that anyway. Because when you start, I'm not sure about the Wayfinder thing. That drives me a
No,
bit
that's
crazy.
God, forget that. It's all gone.
Or even how Exegol is where it is. What if it's just in? It's hidden by the radiance of like a neutron star or something.
It doesn't need.
So it's insanely deadly to get there. Maybe it's that rather than people don't know it exists. It's almost in another plane of existence. It's just people have gone, I'm not going there. it's going to blow up or something.
If you come with me, it will this will suck the life out of you. This will kill you. But thankfully, I have found a way to fight off death, and it will take all our combined efforts to survive the journey to Exegol. Like, that could be what it is. It's like Plagueis needs to get to Exegol, but he can't because he needs a Force user as strong as he is to find an old Sith weapon that can power an army of a fleet of ships that can overpower the galaxy or something. Like, I don't know. You say, look, we need to get to this planet. It's the radiation from this star, whatever, makes it absolutely lethal to get to. One of us on our own would not survive, but the power of the two, and you tie it back into the Sith and the Apprentice, means that we can work together to survive the journey using the Force. Because I have discovered, and only the person who discovers the ability to restore life can get there. And that's why, like, when Rey goes there, then she's on her own, and she will need, like, Kylo will sacrifice himself then to save her. And I don't know how they get out, but anyway, we'll cross that bridge.
So if Exegol, so if he hasn't already gone to Exegol, we've got this whole. We almost need. We need a reveal in an environment where we can have visual means of saying, "Oh, he's got a tube of Snooks over there, and he's got this, and he's got that." So it's how do we do the reveal? Because I like the idea that Exegol. Or it doesn't even have to be that. I guess Exegol's okay. We can keep Exegol. It's just the Wayfinder that was the issue for me. If Exegol is this, it's going to end everything because he's got the biggest fleet there. He's got the cloning facilities, all this stuff. Why is he not there? Like, how is he not?
Okay, well,
do you know what I mean?
You know
how is he exiled from it?
We can just keep the original idea. Like, there is a broadcast deep in space calling Kylo Ren to this place.
Yeah. So he calls him. Yeah, and he doesn't hunt him down.
He's become obsessed. He's become obsessed by this. Hux has had enough, and he leads a mutiny to overthrow him. And in the first act, we see that. And with nothing left, Ren goes to Exegol, just risks it all, and he's there. Then at the end of Act 1, it's the equivalent of Luke going to Dagobah. Oh my God! It's Luke going to Dagobah. There you go.
Yeah.
End of Act 1.
Okay, nice.
You have a big battle. You have a big battle with the rebels, like the one you get in end of Last Jedi or whatever. Just do something a bit more interesting. And then during the battle, Hux betrays him. He died on the battlefield. Oh God, guys, he's gone. Our dear leader has fallen. I'll take over now. And then the Knights of Ren have helped him, and he like pays them all off or something like that. And then it's and then obviously they'll come back in Act 3 to get their ass kicked. And and meanwhile Ren is just lost out in space, and he gets a call to go to, or he sees a ghost, and it's like, you've got to go to, or Luke comes to him and says, you've got to go to Exegol. And it's like, why would Luke send me to Exegol? And it's because,
and it's
I need you.
Plagueis.
Yeah, and it's like, I need you there. Or Vader. I really think Anakin should have been in this. I mean, they got him back for Obi-Wan. He surely could have come back for this.
Yeah, I think that would have been quite a nice little, because he's obsessed with Vader, right? He's not obsessed with the Emperor, and he's not obsessed with Plagueis. He's obsessed with his grandfather.
Yeah.
That's who it is, and he's not obsessed with his dad or his uncle or anyone. Vader,
And you know what you do?
right? So he's obsessed with
You know what you do?
Anakin. So there's
You have Anakin come down, like you have Anakin making these appearances to him, and then it turns out it's not Anakin at all. Like it is Anakin, like it's Hayden Christensen and all that, and he's like being nice and charming and all that, and then he just turns into like you realize this is all just Plagueis pulling strings. This is all just Plagueis projecting visions into him, and like suddenly you get this kind of mutilated, burned, scarred face appearing to him. You know that is Anakin now. You know, and it's just like we didn't actually get to meet Anakin, so to speak. You know.
okay.
Like,
So Exegol exists. It's just on the edge of a black hole near a neutron star or something. You know, there's something why people wouldn't go there, and there's a very particular way you have to go there. So after the first act, he is ambushed under Hux's command. He's convinced the Knights of Ren that Ren's lost it. He's talking to himself in his office. You know,
well, no, I would do this
office.
in Act 1. I would have this like climax of Act 1.
Okay,
the rebels have escaped. Hux is like, oh, our dear leader has fallen, you know, and it's
but I think have the Knights of Ren think they killed him.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the Knights of Ren need to be vicious, horrible people. So then he gets called to Exegol. Plagueis reveals his hand. He's called by Anakin to Exegol. Plagueis reveals his hand. And then we get to the point where so we're probably mid Act 2. We've just had a switch. Yeah, we've had our switch. The second part of the story, we've had the rebels trying to recover and trying to figure out what's going on, and Rey's trying to find Ren. She's trying to find Ren because she knows there's something big happening because she can feel it through the Force, same as she does in Rise. The one that she knows there's something happening. She goes to find a new beacon, or what are they called again? It's a Sith Wayfinder, but we're getting rid of those. So she's going to be looking for Ren. Ren's going to get to the point where we have this big twist. We find out it's Plagueis. He reveals that he's been pulling the strings throughout maybe all 9 films. I don't know if we want to go that far into it, but like he's been pulling quite a few strings for quite a while.
Yeah.
And it reveals that he was Snoke. He was the ghost of Anakin when he spoke to him. He's been trying to get Ren there because he needs an apprentice or a new host. He needs a strong Force ready host. So he gives him the option: you either be my apprentice and we get this new girl Rey to be my host, or I take you now and you become my host. So it gives him the option.
I like the idea that, okay, I'm gonna pitch you something here. Plagueis is trapped on Exegol because it's a prison. It's a prison of maybe his own making or something. I don't know. Maybe Palpatine trapped his soul there or something like that. And the idea is, as you say, big neutron star covering it, whatever. Like, you can't get off this planet. The radiation will just kill you. So you've got to stay within this temple and whatever. And that's why you have the rule of 2. That's why the rule of 2 exists. Because if Plagueis has another Force user, a strong enough Force user with him when they leave, he can siphon the life force of the other person to survive the journey. All right?
Right.
And that is how, when Rey gets to Exegol, like, you can get to Exegol, but you won't be able to survive the trip out again. Like, like, you can getting there you'll barely survive getting there, but leaving will kill you. And that's why Kylo's able to get there. No one ever comes back from Exegol. That's the story, right? You know, and it's because you can't.
Right.
And when Plagueis dies there, that's why Rey is able to get out, because Kylo's sacrificing himself to save Rey so she can get out. And that explains why there's a rule of 2 in the Sith, because the Sith will always want that power, and their goal is to get to Exegol.
Right.
And it's why why Palpatine always had it's why there's only 2, never more, never less, because you don't want a third. You can't have a third person going to Exegol, because they won't survive the journey out because they won't have anybody to siphon the force off, you know?
So he needs a force-sensitive body to escape from Exegol and become...
Yeah, but it has to be someone strong enough that, you know...
So all he's been able to do is embody people and pull strings to get a really strong...
He's doing force projection stuff like Luke did.
Yeah.
And he's been looking for somebody for decades strong enough to survive the journey to Exegol and back out.
So why doesn't he just take Ren? Why didn't he just use Ren to get out at that point? Why does he need Rey?
Well, you could say before we leave, we have to figure out how. We have to. I don't know. Maybe he getting out isn't that easy. Like maybe he has to. They have to build. Maybe there's some plan that he has to enact first before that, or you know, maybe it's the case that. I don't know. You had to ask a follow-up question, didn't you?
No. I'm not. I like the idea that he's drawing them there, and only two will leave. Rule of two. So he's got, and also it's doing this interesting thing where in Jedi, although they were on the ship together, the Emperor, Luke, and Anakin, they felt very separate to the battle that was happening. It felt like two stories. Whereas at the end of Rise, the Emperor's, you know, he's like, "Oh, I'll get these, and I'll get you," and it feels a bit like it's all one big mess. So I quite like the thought that Hux would be the acting supreme leader, trying to destroy the rebels in a big space battle. At the same time, Rey and Kylo are struggling with Plagueis on Exegol. I don't know if it has to be in the same place.
No, it doesn't.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I do think you need to have... You know what? Okay, here's what you do. Hux wants to destroy Exegol because why would he want any threat? Like he learns that Kylo Ren is alive. He knows what's out there. The Knights of Ren have explained everything to him. He knows that Plagueis is there. He knows that his whole thing, like he's become supreme leader. He's discovered the dirty secrets that Snoke isn't who he said he was, and so on and so forth. And now, he has to destroy Plagueis or destroy Exegol. In doing so, Rey will die, and Poe and Finn and all them are like, we cannot let them die. And the rebels, because you want to show the rebels are kind of like the rebels from Andor and the kind of like the rebels from Rogue One and so on, where it's like, well, she's one person and we're like Hux is going to destroy the enemy for us. Why would we not let him do that? Well, because that's how they win. When we allow them to just kill our own. We've allowed them to take our children. We've allowed them to take this, that, and no more. And you have somebody like Lando, because Lando apparently his child was taken. I think his backstory in this is like as revenge for what he did in Return of the Jedi. They targeted him afterwards. And I think they took his child. I think the implication is that the woman at the end of Rise of Skywalker is his daughter. But
yeah, that's what they're saying, isn't it?
But the idea is that he has lost a child because of, like, he's paid a price for his bravery in Return of the Jedi. And I think you could have Lando be the guy who says, they've taken our children. Like, even Leia will admit that. Like, they took her child. They take our children. Rey is one of ours. She is a daughter of the rebellion. We are not going to, they're not going to take any more of us. Like, and it's like, if you think she's expendable, you don't get what we're fighting for. And you do some big philosophical thing like that, and the audience will get behind that. An audience will get behind.
I like that because it'll bring Finn back into it because he's one of those children.
Yeah, and
he's one of the lost children, and now he's commanding the army. Or a portion of the army that is gonna kill the big bad,
and then and Hux can be using his Star Destroyer to blow up Exegol, but and you just do the Battle of Yavin again, where it's like 5 minutes to destruction of Exegol, and it's like we've got to get there and destroy it. Finn, how are you coming with that support? And it turns out Finn has orchestrated some whole uprising on the ship or something like that. I don't know.
Okay, so we are So we're moving it round now into a structure. So there's a few threads missing. I think you just touched on one. Like, what's the First Order's big weapon? So it could be one of these very nimble Star Destroyers in relation to Starkiller Base.
You know what you do? You just have it's just an upgraded Star Destroyer. It's just one of the ships from Exegol, basically. Like, it doesn't have to be like. It's just they've rebuilt their command ship, basically. And you have Hux say some line like, "We're finally going to give this Star Destroyer its name, a target worthy of its name." And it's like, because it doesn't make sense why they're called Star Destroyers.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's because they're going to blow up the neutron star.
They're going to blow up the star. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
so actually, no. Just to add to that, if you blow up the star, it's obviously going to have massive implications for like this, like the solar system is gone, and you can have a case where rather than space hopping around from solar system from system to system, you have them within a confined solar system. And it's like all the people that we've met they're all going to be wiped out, because of this. They're not blowing up a planet; they're blowing up a star, and that is going to. That's how you separate it, because they've never blown up a star before. They've only ever blown up planets. Yeah. This time they're going to blow up a star and wipe out an entire solar system. And there you go. You've just raised the odds. You've just raised the stakes.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that one star could have such a big effect. Could we try and have it like there could be there's gonna be a chain of things that will happen, like a chain reaction supernova if they destroy this thing.
Oh yeah. If you ever watched Stargate SG-1, they do that. They blow up a star. As a way to they engineered the destruction of the heroes engineered the destruction of a star in like a barren solar system in order to wipe out like a lot of the enemy, and it has massive repercussions, because guess what, blowing up a star is not something to kind of scoff at. So hear me out on this. So the idea that the Exegol star would cause the chain reaction that damages the New Republic feels a little bit far-fetched. But it doesn't have to be Exegol. That could be a different thread. They could be going to the star 2 stars away from Coruscant. They could be going to the star, 2-3 stars away from most of the Rebel owned territories. And they could just wipe out 5 solar systems. So including Plagueis.
I don't know.
See, I feel like he will want to what if Huxes are our big bad. I mean, Plagueis is our our Joker card here. We don't quite know what to make of this one, but if Hux is the supreme leader, he's not going to want Plagueis around. He's not going to want the Sith or any of that kind of stuff. He's just going to want industry and efficiency and bureaucracy. He's Hux is like the great granddaughter or whatever of Dedra from Andor, or granddaughter.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah.
There's that many generations apart. Like that's who he is. He's not somebody who he sits in an office. He worries about making the meeting on time, and have you got the papers in order? Like, he's not thinking about spirituality or wayfinders or philosophical, historical things, So I think he would want them to be destroyed. I think you just contrive some geographical thing where the rebellion has come together stronger than before. Turns out that if you actually choke the rebellion enough, you'll wake enough people up, and they've rebuilt their forces. Maybe Leia's death has galvanized people as well to come together. Her final wishes have made people wake up. And then Hux sees a way of destroying them. I'd blow up the star, I'd wipe out the rebellion, I'd wipe out Plagueis, I'd wipe out any record of all this spiritual nonsense, and we can just get on with ruling this galaxy.
Yeah, okay. So I guess also it's not just the rebellion; it's the New Republic.
As grandfather Tarkin wished.
Yes,
You know.
grandfather. Yes, that's it. That's it. Grandfather. Yeah, he's Tarkin's spawn. No, definitely. But if we, yeah, I quite like the idea that I don't know if I want to wrap it all into one, but I quite like the idea of that he is going to wipe out Plagueis and he's going to wipe out well, it's not just the rebellion; it's the forces of the New Republic, because they're the New Republic are still in charge. They are still the governing force there. Do you know what I mean? It's like the new the First Order are the rebels in this one. They are rebelling against.
The reason why the reason why I think it has to be that if Rey is on Exegol during this time, Exegol has to be in the firing line for Hux, because Rey needs to be in the firing line, because that's one thing that was missing from Return of the Jedi. In Return of the Jedi, no one seems to kind of care that Luke. Like, I always thought a great thing to do would be, you've got Leia commanding the start of the ship, commanding the mission up in space. You've got Han piloting the Falcon with Lando. You know, Chewie can be on the ground with the Ewoks, you know, and his fellow, you know, Wookiees, as I think was the original plan. Like, he liberates a bunch of Wookiees or something. And what you do is you have Leia being like, you have to fire now, Han. And Han is like, I'm not going to fire because Luke is still there. And she's like, I know, and it kills me to do this, but this is our last chance. We have only one shot. And he's like, I'm going to give them one extra, you know, or something like that. And you could have this great conflict moment where, or it can be Leia like standing up to her, you know, like other people who don't really respect her authority, saying, we have to fire now. It's just one man. And it can be Leia and Han, you know, Leia saying, I'm not going to sacrifice Luke. And Han can be, you know, turning off his radio. Sorry, I didn't quite get that, Commander. You know, like, sorry, you know, and Leia can smile because, you know, Han's.
You've just rewritten Jedi, haven't you?
Yeah, but I think that film needs I think that film always needed a page one rewrite. I'm sorry, we'll do another episode on that one, but and then rage everybody. But you need something like that here, where it's like Finn saying, "I will not." Like, we can't do it. Or you have Lando saying like, sorry, Commander, I can't quite hear you there, you know, and he just turns off the radio. Like, it's gotta be, you gotta.
To mobilize the forces of the Republic, though, we're going to need, because they're all downtrodden. That was the whole point of Rise of Skywalker, that they didn't answer. They're scared of this rising power. But they're mobilized because the 5 central solar systems of the Republic will be completely wiped out. There will not be a trace of 5 solar systems, and it will be the core of everything just destroyed.
Yeah.
The history of the Republic, everything will be destroyed. So
yeah, everything is going to be lost. Our culture, history will be lost. Yeah.
So they want to rebuild this sparkling, clean empire up from zero, or at least the remaining planets that weren't at the central core of what used to be the Republic, and the one that the Jedis ran, because, you know, Coruscant's still there. It's all still there. Like, I know they got rid of a big lump of Jeddah, but we've got it's just wiping out the history. So for me, that works for the First Order idea. So now we've got the Plagueis thing. If we can knit this in really well,
can I add one more bit?
Yeah, okay, go for it.
So, to make it less contrived of like this one explosion will destroy everything, which probably wouldn't happen, because I think it makes space a very small thing then. Have it be, there is a fleet of ships have been sent out, and they are just going to wipe out everything. They're on the mark. It's all going to just disappear in one go. History is just going to be obliterated in one go. And it's like, well, we can't fight them all. We can't win them all. And you just have them almost be accepting defeat. But it's like, look, we're going to go out with a bang here. I'm not going to live under another empire. Like, Lando's like, I'm not going to see this all happen again. And where's our battleground? Commander, give us a battleground. Just give us one place where we can die on, where we can go out. And it's like, Exegol, where Rey is. Let's just all be together in our final moment, right? And as they're doing that, Finn has engineered something where he has sent out a broadcast, or he has done something, and he has rallied a bunch of insurrections all around the galaxy. I don't know. You seed it, like you have it be something like really good in Act One that just spreads like a virus throughout the First Order, and all the stormtroopers just lay down their weapons.
Yeah,
and then
it's all those stolen children.
Yeah.
He's leading
and then
an army of stolen children.
and
yeah,
at the end,
yeah.
it's like, well, how many planets did we lose? And it's like none. I say none. We lost none. And you just think, holy crap! And you know this will never happen again now, because
So they didn't write that. It wasn't just the main group that we see, the rebellion group that we see.
Yeah,
it's everyone.
Yeah, it's just
everyone rises up, and we can even get like a nice. So when it feels like, oh, they've won, but then all these Star Destroyers are going to blow up the next 5 systems, we cut to battle after battle after battle of them taking down.
Yes, you do the opposite of Order 66, where it's you do a montage, a hopeful montage, an inspirational montage of like First Order leaders like having to lay down their weapons, people being betrayed by their soldiers, like you have Hux, running away and like hiding like a coward behind some, and you just have like an army of stormtroopers just walking down the corridors, except this time they're all like taking off their helmets and stuff like that, and they're just looking for Hux, like.
So we've got our fire, we've got the spark for our fire.
Yeah.
Finn gets the stolen children to rebel. They are allied with the New Republic. Reverse Order 66. There are 4 or 5 different solar systems where this is happening, and they just wipe out the First Order. We don't know this till afterwards because it feels like a bittersweet thing. So what's happening at Exegol? Hux has gone to Exegol. He wants to be the ship that does the blow that gets rid of Plagueis, because he knows if he gets off that planet, he's going to rain down an Emperor-style level amount of lightning, and just he's going to take the.
And also, Ren's been betrayed by Hux, and it's like, I cannot allow. Like, I have to make sure Ren is dead this time. Like, like you failed me already, And
so he goes there. So we get our group go to Exegol, and they win this mini battle, and it's like, what are we going to do now? And they get stuff on the radio saying, no, there's an uprising. There is the Republic has stood. They have survived. They have stood up to this force, and they've wiped him out.
And you also emulate in Force Awakens when Hux is like, he yells fire, when he does that, his face is red, like he's really delivering it. Donald Gleason, like when they fire Starkiller Base.
Yes.
He's like, fire, and all that. And then you have him do the same thing here where he makes this great speech. It's like, fire, and then nothing happens. Yes. And it's like,
I
don't know. I
like that. So I think with the so we've just got all these mechanics working together really well. I think the one that has fallen out is Ben's redemption. So I think we need to fiddle around with the Exegol thing. So we've got Plagueis needs to get off the planet. How's about he can only get off the planet in a force-sensitive body? He needs a force-sensitive body to make it off the planet. He doesn't have
2 souls in one or something like that.
He can beam into bodies all over the shop, but it's not what he needs. He needs his force-sensitive body so he can rebuild the Sith Empire. So he gets Ben there and gives him the choice. I take you or I take Rey. You're both strong. I want one of you. You can be my apprentice or she can. That's what's happening. And he gives him the choice. But then we have to somehow and then Rey's drawn in, and we have to get Ben's redemption arc in there. Like, how are we going to...
Ben's redemption arc in this film was simply that he gets beaten by Rey, she cures him, she heals him, and then he's visited by his father, and he just questions everything at that point. And that's it. Like, that's all it is. And so I don't think it would take much to do that either. Like, I still think you could have where you can have a great battle between the two of them, and you have a battle between the two of them where she ends up beating him, and she heals him, like, and Plagueis is delighted. Okay, you're obviously the winner. And then she heals him, and then he's like, why are you doing that? Why are you like this is ridiculous. Why are you helping him?
So what if that happens early on?
And it's enough to just make him go, oh crap, You know
what if that happens early on, and that's how Hux says, look, he's a traitor?
In the battle in Act 1, Rey fights Kylo, beats him in front of his men, and he loses the respect of his men, and they think he's dead. No, he's left for dead by Hux and Co.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rey heals him. He's left on his own. He gets a Force vision from his father, and then he's left on his own for a bit, and then Anakin comes to him, and it's like, you'll be visited by 3 ghosts or something like that. I don't know. And
the ghosts of Skywalker past.
Yes, actually, you could do that, actually. And then it's, I don't know. I know it's a bit contrived, but I think you could work that in early, and now he's totally questioned his methods. I loved the idea in Avengers Endgame when they kill Thanos at the very beginning of Endgame. Like that's great. I thought that was so great. Like, you've given us everything we want right up front, and you're making us work for the second time to do it properly, And I think, have Kylo fall, have him lose early in Act 1, and then that just creates ripples. Like, what if the leader is beaten?
So what if she beats him, she heals him, she leaves, and then Hux and the Knights of Ren have seen him let the enemy go, and they're winning this battle. But then he's let. Is it a target? Is she a target of the First Order?
But no, look,
that's the thing. You
just have it be. It's rebellion. It's just another fight.
Yeah. Why did you let her go?
Yeah, it's just another fight for the rebel. And it could be a thing where we've. You know what it is? We're trying to rally more people to our cause. And in doing so, we're getting into fights with the local First Order battalions, and this one has just gotten way out of control, and Hux is there, and Kylo's there, and everyone's there, and it's just, and the locals are like, we don't want to help you. We're not going to come for you. We're not going to help. Like, you. This is what happens when you guys come around. Like, we're not going to be there to fight for you. Whatever happens, but you can't ask us to fight for you. And then obviously everybody comes in the end to save the day,
Yeah, there's a bit of a world police whiff to it. They've destroyed all the local towns and cities, and it's like, no, you've ruined look, our school's broken and there's no library left. What have you done? You could have that kind of thing. Okay, so the members of the Republic are tiring of this battle. Even though the rebels, I mean, it feels weird calling them rebels. Are they rebels? Like, they're just fighters.
Actually,
they're like mercs.
That's a really good point, because clearly the New Republic army don't want anything. Like, clearly something has happened that's made Leia just branch off on her own. Like, she was clearly an instrumental force in the New Republic, and yet she has branched off on her own. So you could do something really cool, actually, where, Holdor, who was the one? I keep confusing with Holdor from Game of Thrones. Holdo, yeah.
Yeah, not Hodor.
I was like, what the hell? No, because I was watching it last night, and I heard somebody say the Holdo maneuver, but I thought they said the Holdor maneuver or something like that.
It was, what's his name from Lord of the Rings. Like, we're crossing over all these, like, oh god, yeah.
Anyway, Hold the Door is old friends of them are are like, they're coming in to interfere, and they're like, guys, this has to stop. You guys are just deadly. Like, we will, we have our own. We are doing our own thing here, whether you like it or not, and you guys are just interfering and making things worse. And
nice.
And it can be a case where actually they get wiped out, the halfway point, like they lose some massive battle, and it actually is just down to ordinary folk then to step up.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. So how's about that happens at the start is like it looks like the beginning and the end for the collaboration. Rey beats Ben, starts his redemption arc early. He leaves, and Hux convinces the Knights of Ren that he's deserted.
And Plagueis and the trip to Plagueis is an attempt to get back into that dark side again. You know. He's having that crisis, of identity, and it's like, actually, Plagueis will help me here,
Well, I think having him lied to go there.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
It's Anakin that pops up, redeemed Anakin apparently, and it's not.
Okay.
It's Plagueis. So then the journey to Exegol is going to be hunted by the Knights of Ren.
Sure. Okay, and then on Exegol, it's not Plagueis at first, it's the ghost of Anakin helping Kylo, and it's later revealed that he's not who he says he is. This is what am I looking for? Like, he's there looking for something, or he's there like doing something, or it's just Yoda teach. It's like the way Yoda was teaching Luke, and it's like, you've got to work for your redemption. Like, me throwing the Emperor down the drain wasn't enough. Like, I had to do some serious post-death soul searching, in order to kind of find my way again. And then you have there's like a reveal, like, oh, he's not who he says he is. Like in the Harry Potter movies, when somebody always turns out to be Voldemort, and it's like, in this case, you're not Anakin.
Yeah.
I am Darth Plagueis.
I like that. I like that. So we're almost shoehorned in now.
Yeah.
Where does Rey go when Rey leaves that battle? We need her. She's going to make her way to Exegol. Why is she going to Exegol? Does she have some? What happens? Does she have a vision?
I like that she went back to Luke on the island, and I love that the that X-wing, that resilient X-wing, is still there. Works perfectly. Apparently, only takes a few seconds to dry out. I think I would like to see them go back there again. I would like to see her, wrestling with everything that's happened. I think one thing that'd be really interesting, that they do play with this when she thinks she's killed Chewie. She gets a glimpse of her power in that moment, and it's a glimpse of what anger can do, and what anger can kind of tease out. I think, imagine if she was responsible for the destruction of a school or a destruction of a library or something like that in that battle during her fight with Kylo.
It's Sokovia all over
exactly
again.
I didn't want to say it, but yes. And she's Wanda having that crisis,
okay.
And Luke is there to help her, and somebody else can be there to help her as well. I mean, if you wanted. And then it's okay, look, if you really like to finish this, you're going to have to go to Exegol and confront Ren in the same way I had to confront Vader,
Yeah, you need to save Ben.
Yeah, save Ben. You need to save Ben. Don't kill him.
There is good in him. There is good in him. You need to save Ben because there's a rising evil.
And at least we saw that there's good in him because of the crisis that he's going through. Whereas there's nothing, like, I hate when Luke says in Return of the Jedi, oh, there's good in him, I can feel it. Like, when did you see this? When did you sense this at all? There's no evidence at all in any of this that he was any good invader,
I know, but they can the Force always papers over loads of stuff. I know, it's great. But it's just, so who survives? So they're going to get there. We're probably going to have a similar thing where the Knights of Ren also arrive there, and there's a battle. Yeah. I'd like to see both of them take on the Knights of Ren.
Well, yeah, you do the same showdown as we had before. Same thing as before.
It's like they're still not allied at this point. She saved him. He's on the edge. He's now trapped and tricked by Plagueis. She's coming. She's coming because Luke sent her there. And the Knights of Ren arrive. And it's like their shaky alliances now. They have to fight the Knights of Ren. And Plagueis is there watching, as the Emperor might have been. Do you know what I mean? And then we have to have them go through their struggle, become allied, and try to fight the Emperor, the Plagueis, sorry, who will be an Emperor, I guess. What happens? How do we get out of it? Like,
Well, I would.
is it a badass lightsaber battle? We don't know Plagueis.
No, but
Is he
I
really...
would do exactly the same thing that we had before. I like what happens in Rise of Skywalker. I love the idea that she doesn't strike him down. Like everybody was saying that to me when we were I was talking with different people about Rise of Skywalker. They were saying, yeah, but she kills him. Why didn't she become the Emperor then? Like, you know, he said, if you kill me, you'll become, and then she kills. And I was like, no, she defends herself. You know, she protects herself. Like, and she manages to do it right. Like and it's the Emperor's power coming back at him rather than her attacking him. And I like and that works. I like that he gets beaten again by the Knights of Ren. It shows how deadly the Knights of Ren are. And they're not just, you know, they're not just lightsaber fodder, you know, and it's he gets worn down by them to the point where, you know, there's not much left in him, and she's protecting him. And like, I think she needs to be incredibly badass to the point where she can fight off Plagueis. Plagueis also will need to be a weaker character because he can't be this incredibly powerful being.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Like, she's able to fight him off, but she's not exactly fighting, you know, Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know. So I don't know. That's how I would do it anyway.
So I guess the one last hook that we need to fix is: do the rebels know about Plagueis? Do they know about Plagueis, or are they just? How do they get to Exegol? Because they're there and they're like, we have one battleground, we can only do one battle here, there are 5-star destroyers. Are they just going after hooks? They don't even know, like, what's their motivation?
Well, Rey sent the message from the X-Wing to follow this journey, which I love. I love that it's like we're getting a message from Luke Skywalker, you know, and it's like, I love that. I think actually it's Luke's ship.
Yeah, brilliant. So she sends a message saying, I'm going here, Hux is there, there's a rising power, get there, get everyone there now. Take out Hux, take out this. She wouldn't name him, I don't think, but you know, I will deal with.
But she doesn't need to like remember that she doesn't need to know.
She just like get everyone
who he
here.
is. They don't care who Plagueis is. Not half of them will have never heard of Plagueis. Most of them will have never heard of. No one will have ever heard of Plagueis probably, and so it's not like nobody's talking about a Sith Lord on the Death Star in Return of the Jedi. They're just talking about, like, we got to blow up the Death Star. So in this instance, it's just we gotta defeat the First Order. We gotta just take the fight to Hux. Look, we might not be able to defeat the First Order, but we can at least defeat Hux and Ren. Right. And Rey is like, and you know, it could even be, look, maybe if we destroy these, maybe if we kill the leadership, maybe take off the head of the snake, the rest will fall. We're going to lose a few planets along the way, I'm sure.
So they're trying to take the head off.
But like, look, let's just try and take the head off at least.
So if we get the the rebellion or the rise of the Republic, assisted by Finn, sorry. So is he out there with them? Or is he in the battle? Is it him and Poe doing the the equivalent of the Millennium Falcon going into the middle of the Death Star? Are they doing that run? Is that them?
I think Finn and Poe need to be doing that together. It's the way it was in the first one. I think Wedge should be in Poe's X-Wing. You know, I don't think he should be at the Falcon. I know, like, how do you get all this together? But I like the idea that I think Wedge should have come in sooner, or he should have just been there all along in the background. And he's like, look, I haven't flown one of these things for years, but if you can you trust me with your X-Wing, it would be an honor. And he sits into it and he's like, yeah, feels good, you know. And then
Red One.
yeah, and there, yeah, exactly, yeah. and he can lead that. Like he should be like, you know, leading the like that band of X-wings, you know, and it would be an honor to serve under you, sir, you know, that kind of thing. And then meanwhile, Finn and Poe leading the charge, and Finn can just be like, look, you know, maybe some of those rebels or maybe some of those locals that they met along the way or that they caused trouble with along the way, you know, is that band of former resistance or former stormtrooper kids who said, you know, we've been working hard to send a message, you know, to try and get people to turn to our cause, but no one's listening. And Finn just says, look, keep at it. They will listen. You know, they will turn eventually. They will join. Like there are good people under those masks. You're just not seeing it. And actually, when you think about it, we don't see a lot of stormtroopers doing bad things in these movies. You see a lot of stormtroopers fighting in Force Awakens, but you never see stormtroopers really being that cruel. And in The Last Jedi, I don't think you ever really get to see much of the stormtroopers, if memory serves. It's mostly like Imperial. It's like First Order ships doing all the destruction. So it's not an unreasonable idea to have all these kind of characters all these stormtroopers lay down their guns after a certain, or take off their helmets and keep their guns in their hands, you know, and do a kind of an uprising. Like it doesn't have to be Finn going out there actively turning people to his cause. It can be him motivating somebody who's already been laying the groundwork. You know, so,
I like that he might be some sort of, he could be the voice of it, whether he knows it or not.
Yeah, like he started something. He started something.
Yeah, he started something.
And the rest have followed, but they're losing faith. I don't think there are that many to our cause. And Finn can be saying, trust me, there are more than you realize. I was one of them. Okay, I didn't realize it until I was pushed. And if you push people hard enough, they'll wake up. And then it's just in that moment when people are being asked to push the big red button to destroy a planet. It's like, I don't know, you know, I can't do that. And then it just starts happening. And it can just be, actually, there is good in the universe. And you kidnapped us as kids. So of course we don't have a choice in what we're doing here. But now we're not kids anymore. And we're not afraid to stand up to you anymore, you know? So I think there's a natural uprising to be had in those ships.
Okay. So I think we've got a shell to write out of now, which is, you know, we are keeping some of the original ingredients, some of the original structure, but we've injected a little bit more Star Wars lore into it and tried to take out some of the more divisive mechanics. So I'm going to run back through. Again, this isn't a full film. This is a structure to write out of. So we're going to start off with a battle. We're going to come in cold. We're going to have a big battle between the Rebellion army and the First Order. There is going to be collateral damage. So we're going to experience members of the Republic becoming annoyed with both sides. They're going to despise both of them because there's going to be like schools blown up and all this kind of stuff. It's going to be awful. Within this battle, we're going to get Rey versus... we're going to get lots of verses in this battle very early on. The battle, the team ups and the combatants that we wanted to see. It's like you say, we can get something very early on that gives us everything we want, like killing Thanos up front. So we are going to have Rey versus Kylo Ren. She's going to win, but she's going to destroy Innocence. There's going to be a big moment in there where she has a huge issue with controlling herself. She heals Kylo when she's realized what she's done. That starts his redemption arc. She leaves the planet to go back to Luke Island, or
Ireland as we call it.
Ireland, yeah, Luke's Island, to gather herself. Kylo leaves. Hux goes, look, Knight's a friend. He's deserted. Chase him. So then they track him. Kylo's experienced a call, a Force Ghost call from his, who he thinks is his grandfather, to go to Exegol. So he starts his journey there. Throughout, there's this raising threat of the new super weapon, which Hux is now in control of because Ren's gone. He goes, right, we're going to blow up 5 different systems. We are going to get these superstar destroyers to actually do what they're supposed to do and destroy some stars. They're going to take out 5 solar systems. Throughout this rising problem. We still get this idea that they're calling the Republic, and the members of the rebellion, and no one's believing them. And Finn sends out a message, which is a spark. He's talking to the stolen children. He's talking to the oppressed, and he's saying, "Look, they're going to come. They are going to wipe everything out. You have to rise up." And he starts this spark. Then they realize there's no one. They think there's no one coming. Their plan is to go after the head of the snake. So they're going to chase Hux to Exegol. They're going to follow him there. Hux knows where Exegol is because Knights of Ren are going there. He is aware of what is happening. We haven't figured out the mechanic of how and why yet, but I think we could probably get that in there. I don't know whether we need Plagueis or whether we just need, for him anyway, whether we need Plagueis or whether we just need that's where Ren is, and it's going to destroy the heart of whatever he's hunting after. So they've got this mission. We're going to have the rebels chasing Hux chasing Kylo Ren, who's now on his own redemption arc. Rey is going to go back to Island, or Luke Island, and have an episode with Luke's ghost, and he's going to say, "Look, you've got to redeem Ben. He's on the way. He's got good in him. You need to help, and there is a rising evil you need to help him defeat." So then she goes to Exegol. So you've got all the forces that we are familiar with going towards Exegol. She arrives. She's closer than anyone else. She arrives similar time to the Knights of Ren. We've already had Kylo Ren being introduced to Plagueis. He's like, "I've been pulling these strings all along. Here I am in this film. Here I am in this film. You have two choices. You join me, or I take your Force-sensitive body, or we wait till Rey gets here because she's coming, and I take her body, and we rule together." And he's in this, this classic struggle. Rey arrives. The Knights of Ren arrive. There's a battle. They ally with one another. Rey and Ben. Now, I guess he would become. He's beginning. He's on his redemption arc. He is now allied with good, the light side, and we get a very similar ending where they defeat the Knights of Ren. There is a battle above, but that feels quite separate, as in Jedi. So we're going to have this struggle over here. We're going to have all of these superstar destroyers lining up to destroy these 5 different systems and take out basically the whole Republic. The rebels that we know have put all their forces in to try and destroy Hux. We get Poe and Finn flying the Falcon and Wedge in the X-Wing into the center, trying to basically finding the core, whatever the MacGuffin core of this ship is going to be, to destroy it. When they do, they send out another message saying, "Look, you've got to get the flux capacitor on the left side of the thing out to anyone that can hear it." We get the victory on the planet. Kylo Ren, or Ben, dies in the same way, and we get Rey defeating the Emperor. So they win the Exegol battle as a whole, and then they learn that there's been an uprising, Reverse Order 66, stormtroopers are rebelling, the Republic got the messages, they literally wipe out the First Order, and they win. They finally win. There is, of course, something could rise again in the future, but they've beaten this. Plagueis is gone. There is no more Sith as far as they can see. They are good. And then maybe we can still have Rey going back to Tatooine.
Oh, I have to have her go back to Tatooine.
And when she says, "What's your name?" she says, "Just Rey." It's just Rey.
Yeah. I want to see Luke and Leia Force Ghosts at the end, because I thought that was nice. And I want to see the redemption of the Skywalker name, because it really is been muddied, actually, by the time we get to that movie. So yeah, but that all just happens through through conversation. Like, it's more, if we do these things, we'll be, it's implied to the audience that if we can just do these good things, we'll have fixed the Skywalker name, and we know that it's better. Yeah.
So we've kind of taken what we had before, changed the villain, and we've moved some of the battles around to give some of the arcs a longer time. There's still questions in there, but I mean, we're not writing a whole script here. We're sort of getting a structure that we can write out of.
There are six problems inherently with the existing film, right? that I'm not talking about solving these. I'm just talking about, I just want to fly through these very quickly because I do think it's worth highlighting the actual problems. Forget about like what do we think Palpatine back is a good idea or not. First of all, dialogue in this film is the worst I think I've seen in a since the prequel films. It's really bad, and Poe and Finn's dialogue is exceptionally bad in it. You know, everything that they say is generally a repetition of what's actually happening in the visuals. So, you know, the whole joke of like, they fly now, yeah, they fly now, you know, that kind of thing is just that not only are they repeating each other's line, I know it's a bit funny, but yeah, we can see it. And then Poe's best friend from the old days comes back and she joins the fight and he's like, you made it, you know, and it's like, yeah, we know she's there. And it's just everything he says in this film is very much him just saying the thing that we now have learned as if we weren't watching. And I think there's no kind of saying, there's no subtlety to anything, no subtext to anything that's being said. So dialogue definitely needs to be like ramped up a bit. There's a lot of double bluffs in this film, like C-3PO saying, "I'm taking one last look at my friends." It's like you're going to be fine in like 10 minutes, you know, and there's no sacrifice being made here whatsoever. Chewie's death is fine if you want to make it that, if you want to prolong the idea that he's dead and maybe he helps them escape later, you know, when it turns out he's alive. But it is revealed to us very quickly soon after that he's alive. And then it's very frustrating to hear our characters thinking he's dead. And we should never be more knowledgeable than our heroes. And Rey turning to the Sith, in the trailer, there's this great image of her with the kind of flip-up lightsaber. And it looks like, something bad could happen here. And it's just a flash. It's just a Force ghost. So much of this feels like it was written for a trailer to get people into the movie rather than stuff that actually has value. Palpatine speaks in very vague ideas as well, where he's saying, he creates this rule where the two, my body can go into your body, and then it's like, but now there's two of you. Oh wow, okay. Well, now the two of you will sacrifice yourselves for the one true emperor. And I'm like, you're just making up all these different rules, and in the moment, and it just feels like you don't even have a plan anymore. The blade as a map to the Death Star has absolutely zero value, and I have no idea how anybody earned their paycheck that day when even a 6-year-old could tell you that's not how this works. Like it's a wreckage and there's a map in the shape of it and it tells you where, but like how did she could have been standing in any part of that. It is pointless. It is absolute nonsense. And it genuinely feels like this was just written in a rushed way for a first draft script, with the idea that we'll fix it later with further drafts. You don't get to do any further drafts now.
So I think bar the dialogue, we've sort of leaned away heavily from those.
I don't think any of those issues are a problem now.
I think that's become an organic. I mean, again, you can probably find so many different versions of this film online. People have gone, wouldn't it be cool if this was like that? And most of them are leaning away from those points. Yeah. So I think, and as is really simple, different big bad. Redemption starts earlier, and we don't have the two evil arcs hooked in so much. Like we have the rising new emperor, and we have the people who've taken over the First Order, and it's separate, and it brings in the idea of an uprising within that. To counter what we saw at the end of Revenge of the Sith. And it feels like we've tried to go into the duality and the history repeating itself of the Star Wars franchise. So it feels like what we've got here could be a nice structure to write a different version.
I think so, yeah. I think so.
And we would have to pay more attention to dialogue, I think. But yeah, I think we've got a good structure there. Have you got any last thoughts on this or the original Rise?
I think the third act is always the hardest act to write in any movie, and I think it's no coincidence that Return of the Jedi and Rise of Skywalker are the weakest links in those original trilogies, in their respective trilogies. I think the reason Revenge of the Sith probably stands as the strongest link is because they were learning from mistakes each time. And so they got that one right, I think, or, as close to right as possible. But I do feel that I much prefer Rise of Skywalker to Return of the Jedi. I think it ticks a lot more boxes for me, but I'm not oblivious to the problems that the film suffers from. But yeah, I'm glad it's there, and I will watch it again and again. I don't think I would watch Solo again, for example, but I could definitely see myself watching Rise of Skywalker again and again in the future.
Yes.
I like this. I like this version. I think it does it right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It was good fun. I think we've definitely given Disney some food for thought there.
Are you a fan of the film?
I'm middling.
Yeah.
I'm middling on it. Like I do quite. I will watch this film again. There are parts of this film that I absolutely love. It's just those hanging questions. Every time I watch it, I'm like, ugh, why is that like that?
I think The Last Jedi is a film I will watch without any distractions. I will not be on my phone when I watch it or anything like that. I think Rise of Skywalker, I'd like to do a jigsaw puzzle or something while it's on in the background.
Yeah,
you know? But I like that it's on in the background. You know, that kind of thing.
It's a roller coaster ride that's fun to be on, but you don't have to pay attention.
Yeah.
Like it's just fun. But that was good, John. Thank you very much. And thanks everyone for listening. This has been the Great Hollywood Rewrite with the Script Department. As I said up top, check us out on social. Check out our website, thescriptdepartment.net. You can buy us a coffee as well if you want to support us to make more bits of content like this one. And also give us a like, give us a subscribe. If you're listening to this on the podcast, nip over to YouTube. We're getting closer to that magical 1,000 subscribers. So if you could give us a subscribe over there too, that would be a massive help. And as always, if you have any thoughts of what film or TV show you'd like us to take a look at next time, hit us up in the comments or message us directly. Thanks for listening, guys. Nice one.